This is what I imagine this game's going to go like. All of a sudden, I'm going to turn my back, and then Thomas is just going to push my ass down an elevator shaft like Holy shit.
I don't know this one.
Mary.
Jesus Christ.
Nate,
That first one, what the hell?
Oh my
Marianne was
God.
on an episode of Scared Straight.
Marianne deals crack cocaine.
Hey everyone, how's it going out there on the interwebs? It's just Nate here, and today I'm going to be looking at how primitive building videos are staged by Sunny V2. So, for a while, I have been... initially, I was skeptical about some of the primitive, like the primitive building videos, you know, the huge underground pools and all that, with like the mansions and everything. And I remember there were so many people for the longest time who were just captivated by these videos, just like, oh my gosh, can you believe what they've done? Can you believe, like, these guys are just so talented, you know, they're able to build this in such a short amount of time. And I noticed something about several of the videos. In some of the videos, there were excavator tracks. And not only that, but it was supposed to only be these two guys building, but in the background, you could clearly see other people working on other parts of the build. And again, just how the markings are in the pit in which they're digging out, some of the scrapings on the side can only be made by something of a larger tool than the sticks that they were using. Which, look, there's one primitive building. It's primitive technology. He's an Australian who's very good about living out in the bush. He's, you know, he shows the process piece by piece. How he built his axe, how he built his hut, how he built his forge, how he built everything, basically. And it's no joke when it comes to him. He does tremendous work. But there are so many channels out there who are so quick to take advantage of a format and then try and claim it as their own and become the main ones. And I look at primitive technology and I look at his most popular video. His most popular video by far is the tiled roof hut, which is just it was the one that really took off his, you know, made his channel take off. It was around 6 years ago, and the guy is just supremely talented and just has a great mindset for knowing how to build out in the bush. Whereas these other primitive building, primitive survival, yeah, there's primitive survival, which, let's look at them. They have 1.56 million subs, and let's see, their most popular one is Beautiful Mud House. Here, let's take a look here. Most beautiful build, Beautiful Mud House, puppy and fish pond around. And some of these I look at and I'm just like, some of them I look at and I'm just like, yeah, that's perfectly logical. Some of these are logical builds. Some of them I'm just like, no, these are not predominantly made, like, able to be. And there's actually some here, yeah. Exposed, the primitive tools, survival builders, and my dad watched some of those videos and was just in awe of them. I remember back in the day, he was just in complete and total awe of everything that was going on. And I showed my dad, like, look, I can understand how you would feel, like, you know, not knowing how, but look right here. And I pointed out, like, excavator tracks, and I pointed out other stuff. And immediately my dad was just like, oh, man. Yeah, my dad got fooled. And again, where he's not as savvy of the internet, like this one here, Jungle Survival, these guys. I think their most popular video, let's see, yeah. Most Secret Underground Bamboo House by Ancient Skill. And then, of course, you have, not Jungle Build, but, where's that? Primal Survival Tool. Again, these two right here, I think these are the ones that a lot of people looked at their stuff. Yeah, look at this. Unbelievable build, swimming pool around. you see, right here, this is fairly logical in terms of the build. I mean, look at that. Building in... wait, hold on. Is this just the same... It's the same thumbnail. That's the same thumbnail, but with a different... yeah, look at that. They just added grass, or... That's literally the exact same thumbnail for their 2 most popular videos. Look at that. And look at this right here. The same one here. Full video, and then full video. It's literally the same exact one. They just added the pool in Photoshop right in front of it. Again, these channels... I'm not saying that these guys aren't capable of doing this, but again, there's just so many things around them that don't make sense. The excavator tracks, the way things are dug out, the multiple people working in the background. It's just supposed to be either the 1 or 2 people who are in the video. I don't know. Again, Sunny V2 has a video here how primitive building videos are staged. Let's see what he has to say. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Almost every single primitive building channel is underpinned by countless different lies, and we've got tons of evidence to prove it. Now we need to put an emphasis on the fact that this is most primitive building channels, and certainly not all of them. After sifting through forum post upon forum post about the ways in which these primitive builders lie, in order to generate sometimes up to 500 million views per video.
Look at that. Hold on. Let's look at that one real quick. That is, I build underground tunnel water slide. I build underground tunnel water slide. Okay. Mr. T, look at that. Look at that right there. Look at that. Like, Mr. Tifu, and it's just supposedly him and his friend with these 2 sticks out in the middle of the woods. With just basic tools out in the middle of the woods. And let's see here. Yeah. Like, just 457 million views. Holy shit. I didn't think that was real.
Video, users continue to mention one name over and over, crediting him as legitimate amongst the sea of phonies: Primitive Technology. The 10.4 million subscriber channel, which is run by an Australian named John Plant, basically invented the primitive construction genre, all the way down to the sound design of silence mixed with rainforest noises, with Primitive Technology even stating in a Reddit AMA that originally it was out of laziness in not putting narration in the videos, but then the silent format became popular, so I kept it that way. When going
sort
back
of
to
like
the
ASMR almost. It's sort of an ASMR kind of thing. With someone working in the background, it's sort of a soothing thing. Especially the sounds that he has. The sloshing of the water, the mud, the fire crackling, the leaves fluttering in the wind. Again, there's just so many aesthetics that just work with this format. And I'm glad people are recognizing Primitive Technology for doing it right.
Silent, relaxing videos, it becomes pretty obvious as to why they're credited as seeming pretty legit in terms of authenticity. Primitive Technology cuts no corners in showing how each stage of the construction is completed legitimately. For example, when examining his very first video, he shows the axe head being sharpened, a log then being cut by the axe, then the logs being crafted together in a way that feels realistic. All of this is accompanied by specific captions explaining what's going on in that very moment, alongside a full description of the build, all the way down to how long the construction process took. His builds never include swimming pools or anything over the top, yet feel impressive as they seem to be on the cutting edge of what is and isn't possible to build by hand. The legitimacy of some of his more impressive builds, such as this brick hut, can be supported by YouTube comments such as this one, which stated, "I actually know John personally. He was a really good friend. We live in the same town, although I haven't seen him since he went viral. I have fond memories of him telling us that he was building huts out bush and had no idea they were so legit, before going on to credit him as a pretty authentic guy from a personal relationship standpoint." All of this is incredible.
So, this one here, this one build, I showed this one to my dad, and I basically told him, yeah, this is basically caveman mortar. I told him it's basically old school brick and mortar. You can build bricks out of clay, and the mortar from the wood ash that you have, you just have, again, it just how you prepare it and how you use it is just, it takes time.
Incredibly important to understand, as Primitive Technology's videos set a baseline for what should and shouldn't be achievable in a natural setting. Additionally, Primitive Technology has been kind enough to provide us with a statement, which will be referred to as we look at the channels on the other end of the spectrum, also known as the fakers. The fundamental problem with the genre is that with so much time between camera cuts, there's plenty of time to set things up illegitimately. And with Primitive Technology's very first video receiving over 44,000 Reddit upvotes and 30 million views, it's no surprise that copycats with less integrity began to pop up left, right, and center. On these channels, the buildings were taller, the slides were longer, and the water was suspiciously more blue.
And it's a weird blue colour. Why is it so blue? Probably because the cover's still dying or something. There's no reason for it to look so blue like that.
Even more interestingly, almost all of these channels range from the exact same area, being Cambodia, Thailand, or Vietnam.
And again, here's my thing. I'm not against people making money. I'm not. If you want to make money and you do this in terms of doing YouTube, and I have no problem with these channels making money, but I do have a problem with them trying to pass off their legitimacy. Again, it's just... I'm never going to hate on someone for making money. Like, if you make money, make your paper. I don't care. But, you know, saying you're legitimate when you're not, that's kind of shitty.
Yet often geotag the United States, claim to be living in the United States.
Okay, that's another thing, too. Deliberately going out of your way to muck up the algorithm. Look, again, I don't care if the person doing it is from Thailand or Sri Lanka or whatever, Thailand, India, Cambodia, Vietnam. They can be from wherever. But again, geotagging into the United States, it's another way for you to just get the most traffic.
And have their Social Blade country set to the United States. The overall production and build quality on these channels is arguably far more impressive than the OG Primitive Technology, to the point where you have to ask yourself, are they really creating these structures out of mud and sticks? Well, when you do a little bit of research, the answer to this question is most certainly no. The best evidence for this is found when looking at a 5 million subscriber channel called Primitive Technology Idea, whose failure to cover up the ways in which they fake their videos make them almost comical to watch. Take for example this episode titled Building Underground Water Maze Crocodile to the Secret Underground House and Swimming Pool, in which the first shot shows 2 men digging on the surface, then in the next frame they're in an 8-foot deep trench.
Yeah, that's again, the cuts in between like that. If anything, show a sped up version of you all getting to that point, or do more cuts in between, you know, with just different angles. But instead, just a cut into an 8-foot trench and just like, huh? Yeah, that's a bit extreme.
Now, if they're digging this deep with sticks, how are they avoiding large rocks and potential tree roots from, you know, the massive line of trees seen just behind them? Are they being assisted by large machinery? Well, we'll get to that in a little bit, but first, let's focus on the idea that it's only 2 people doing these impressively large primitive construction projects. If that's what they were attempting to portray, it probably would have been best not to include the clip where a guy in a white t-shirt can be seen working on the project in the background. Again, there are other videos that I've seen where other people are working in the background. They literally show them in the background. It's like they forgot to crop them out in the final cut. Yet if it were just these 3 guys, that still wouldn't be that bad. However, further evidence suggests that they are far more help than this. At the start of the week, a community post was made on this channel in the hope that someone who had worked with one of these primitive builders would be willing to share their experience in doing so. We received countless emails which were all super helpful, yet one email stood out as being incredibly unique. That email was incredibly from one of the cameramen who works for one of these larger Southeast Asian primitive building channels. His name and the channel he works for have both been blurred out, as it'd be a little unfair for him to get in trouble for simply trying to help out, but the email began by stating, as you may have suspected, it's not as streamlined as the video would suggest. It is a large operation, as you may suspect, with a large team of us behind it. After he then offered to answer any questions we had about their channel, we attempted to figure out how many different people will work on the actual construction part of the project from start to finish, to which he would respond, it is depending on the scale of the project, but no less than 1 dozen or more, before going on to explain that within his team, there is a director for the acting done. There is also a hired architect to obviously make sure the structure will not collapse and will last long enough to film in, and obviously afterwards many editors are involved. In case an email from someone who works from one of these primitive builders isn't enough evidence, it's time to introduce a different channel called Photo Expression, who incredibly stumbled upon one of these primitive construction sites before capturing over 8 minutes.
Yeah, actually we saw that one whenever we did the search.
Minutes of footage with a drone. We'll refer to different parts of this footage throughout our video, but for now it can answer the question of how many people are really working on these sites. There's initially a clip where 8 different workers can be seen standing around a rectangular hole in the jungle, followed by another grainier clip from a far distance, where somewhere between 7 and 10 people can be seen building a swimming pool. If they were honest about how many people were working on each project, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it should be noted that some of these videos specifically state in the description that I've been working hard with my 2 friends about 100 days to completely build. When it
Well, hold on. Let's look back at that. Let's look back at that. A very small private jungle in California, United States. We did together with...
When in reality, it's a whole team working for only 3 to 10 days depending on the project, as mentioned in the email response from the cameraman. So if they're being untruthful about the time period as well as how many people are working on each project, what else are they lying about? Well, how about the incredible fire pits that they seem to create effortlessly? Going back to the statement made to us by...
Okay, that's another thing too, because Primitive Technology, he actually showed like how to do the bow and spindle for the fire starter kit. And he showed how to make it, and it took so long for him just to get one ember that he could put stuff on and make a fire. Whereas I've seen these channels, basically you cut away to them like breaking up sticks, you cut back, fire's already there.
Primitive Technology, he seemed to imply that maybe the fire making in their videos was fake. It's hardly surprising that he brought this up, as when you compare his meticulous method of creating fire in the wild to the fire making of these Southeast Asian primitive channels, as mentioned previously, it becomes comical. They slap a couple of rocks together before beginning an explosion.
Also, those cucumbers and eggs are way too perfect.
Explosive fire on large logs with no kindling whatsoever. John went on to state that if they've faked simpler things, then they're most certainly faking more complicated ones, which turns out to be true, as when looking at another video by Primitive Technology Idea, it becomes obvious that not only are these guys faking simple things such as fire, these guys are also faking the most labor-intensive exercise of all, the digging process itself. This video with over 63 million views begins as most do. A shirtless guy draws a big circle and begins to dig it out. Only in the next frame, suddenly there's spray paint on the ground that they forgot to rub out. Additionally, on the wall of the hole, these long smooth cuts can be seen, which are completely incomparable to the cuts being made.
Again, stuff like that, like right here. These are from a bucket on an excavator. Either that or a regular backhoe. I mean, it's again, these channels,
the stick. Well, there's a reason for this. Turns out spray paint marks weren't the only thing that they forgot to rub out, as in the minutes that follow, excavated tracks can be seen here, 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 and here. In a different video...
There they are. Clear as crystal. Clear.
The minutes that follow, excavated tracks can be seen here.
Yeah.
Here.
Clear. Clear as can be.
Here and here.
Right there. Clear.
In a different video by the same channel, the same person can be seen working very hard digging out a similar hole, which to their credit contains no excavator tracks around it. One mistake they did make, however, was that they forgot to take the actual excavator out of the top right
There
corner.
it is!
According to the email sent to us by the cameraman on one of these channels, approximately 70% of the digging is completed by machinery, whilst 30% is completed by hand, given how much of the work lies in simply digging. But men still do plenty of digging. As you may guess, in small underground spaces, it is impossible to fit a skid steer loader in the hole. Most of the actual construction is done by a hired team of specialized builders from my understanding, and they work with only intrinsic tools. The dirt is removed by skid steer loaders and offloaded elsewhere, and skid steer loaders are used in the initial boring process, whilst incrementally we film the builders doing superficial works on the hole. The video in which the excavator can be seen in plain sight then goes on to strangely display the collection of concrete from a river, which is the exact same clip reused from the previous video.
Whoa, okay.
Now, why would they reuse the same clip twice in 2 different videos? Well, it's because collecting concrete from a river is completely and utterly bogus. Concrete doesn't grow in a river, according to a civil engineer who had commented on one of these videos. Earth cement. This is incredibly fake. Cement requires a precise combination of different raw materials and then receives considerable heat treatment in order to make the powder we all know and love/hate. What's even funnier is that every single one of these channels has their own unique method for creating natural concrete. This channel's concrete is simply a mix of dirt and water, which, if you think about it for 2 seconds, doesn't create concrete and rather creates muddy water or mud.
Yeah, that's literally that. Again, these channels aren't doing the again. Primitive Technology showed how he made coal or wood ash mortar for bricks, which is very similar to concrete. Not entirely the same, but still very similar. He showed the heat treatment process, and then he showed what he had to do in order to get it to literally become concrete. And again, these channels, they could go through the effort of doing that and just show that, but just lazy. They want to put it out there because they don't think anyone will know any better. And then there's videos like this that literally just gobsmack it and just like, nope, that's not how it works.
Mud, which is just dirt after the water dries. This other channel gets a little bit more creative with it by taking a chunk out of a termite nest, grinding it down into powder, mixing it with water, then concreting an entire pool with this small chunk of termite nest. Yet neither of these compare to the fakest channel of them all, Primitive Technology Life, which decides to just skip the concrete altogether and go with good old rocks and dirt. However, that's not the only suspicious thing about this shot. You'll notice when looking at the bamboo that each branch has a suspiciously clean cut
Yeah, they're
on
cut.
the end.
They're cut way too clean up top.
Compare this to Primitive Technology, the legitimate channel from Australia, who in one video displays what the end of a log should actually look like, and you'll notice pretty quickly that these pieces of bamboo weren't naturally cut on site. These pieces of bamboo weren't either, which, as displayed in the video, were attached together then used to siphon water from a river to the pool. Only there was no river. Photo Expression found the exact site of this pool, then stated in his video that in reality, the closest water source was more than 6 kilometers away. Instead, he found a bunch of blue plastic piping attached to a tap in the ground.
Oh my god, are you serious, dude?
Back to the email from the cameraman, the water for their channel just comes in cubic containers that is transported there. A very funny part is any scene where you see them sourcing water from some magnificent waterfall or lake, they're actually going somewhere perhaps hundreds of kilometers away and pretending to take it back. The video in which Photo Expression had stumbled upon various completed primitive builds also showed that after these channels are finished building, the sites are simply left to rot. This video doesn't speak for every Southeast Asian primitive building channel, but in this particular case, rubbish was left everywhere, including, as you might guess, cement bags. The fact that the videos are fake isn't the most concerning, it's the destruction of the land that's concerning. Now, if this was public rainforest, you could probably consider this a pretty big deal, but
yeah, that's depending on the country you live in, that's a crime. I mean, imagine them doing this in Brazil, in the Brazilian rainforest. Well, number one, they'd probably die from, the nature, but at the same time, that would be a very egregious offense, and I think the Brazilian government might have something to say about it. I think a lot of people would have something to say about that. Anyway.
But according to the cameraman's email, at least on their channel, every build is done on privately owned land, which is leased for the purposes of the video.
Okay.
If this is the case, maybe Photo Expression is in the wrong for snooping around and filming on someone else's property. We're kidding, of course, but if the builds are being completed on privately owned land, it's a little narcissistic to comment on what they should and shouldn't do with it. Primitive Technology, the original legitimate Australian channel, put it best in his email to us when he said, "My advice to people who really want to know if the techniques on display are legitimate is to put them into practice and see. If you can follow the steps and get a similar result, then it's probably legit." He added that these corner-cutting channels are motivated by money and status alone, rather than a true interest in primitive technology. But wanting to stay out of internet drama, will leave it up to the discerning viewer to decide what's real and what's not.
Well, there we go. I guess that just again, these primitive channels, they're like, if you're doing it just so that you can have a have a monetary gain. Again, I'm not against people making money. Make your money. But if you're trying to pass yourself off as legitimate and you're deliberately misleading people, I think that's wrong in so many ways. Also, I would say that Primitive Technology is the best one that you can get right now in terms of true primitive builds on what is truly possible with your hands. I mean, hell, he's moving up. I saw one video he did recently where he was doing metal. I think it was metal from bacteria or iron from bacteria, which that's a big thing. I mean, if he's able to get a good amount of steel from these excavator tracks. I'm looking at this here. If he's able to get enough metal or an iron from these, from various sources, I mean, that's amazing, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do with it. But I see once again, Asmongold. Everyone talks shit about us being reactors and all that. Dude, Asmongold has just... he's gone from strictly a World of Warcraft channel to... I remember seeing every Johnny Depp thing that came out. He was there. He was there, and he was just like... just straight up. Yeah, God. Every time he was there. But again, that's... I guess Asmongold lives on this platform, or he lives on the internet, rather, more than we do. So I guess that's something. I don't know. I'm going to leave a comment on the video, so be sure to go and check it out from SunnyV2. If you want to check out SunnyV2's video, you can click the link in the description, or you can click SunnyV2's name in the title of the video. Check out all that, and I guess until next time, everyone, signing off, I'm Nate. I'll see you then, everyone. Peace out.